Hello and welcome. You're tuned in to Embodied Astrology, and my name is Renee Sills. I'm a consulting astrologer and somatic educator, and I'm here to offer Virgo season ahead horoscopes for your sun, moon, and rising signs. Virgo season extends from August 22nd to September 22nd in 2024. Regardless of your sun, moon, or rising sign, you also have Virgo in your chart. In this season's readings, I'll be focusing on how the astrological influences of Virgo season resonate for your sign, and how you can tune in best with this season's influences and needs. These horoscopes are focused on you, and in order to deliver what I feel are the clearest messages, for the most part, I don't get overly detailed about astrological specifics. If you want more information on what transits, aspects, and retrogrades are doing this season, and if you're interested in my take on what this means for our larger world and current events, make sure to take a listen to my Virgo season ahead overview, where I break down this season's astrology in detail and offer interpretation and intuition for working with it on personal and collective levels. Over the course of Virgo season, I and the team here at Embodied Astrology have a number of offerings that resonate with Virgo's needs of practicality, healing, and service to the larger whole. Practically, astrology is a great tool for timing and strategy. And historically, it has been used by leaders in all spheres to take advantage of opportunity and work skillfully with challenge. As you're probably well aware, there are lots of challenges in our world right now that need skillful approaches in order to heal and tend the needs of the greater good. In service of these aims, Embodied Astrology is hosting a participatory astrological research group where we're exploring critical areas in need of activism and developing timing strategies for activists and organizers to tune in with the greatest efficacy and change between now and 2050. In Virgo season, our research group will be meeting twice, on September 12th and 14th, and we would love to have you there. On a personal level, bringing our best to the needs of the times is never always easy, and working through challenges is part of what builds our competency, maturity, creativity, and resilience. This year, our team member Sherry Taylor is diving deep into one of the most potent influences when it comes to these themes, and that's the planet Saturn. Over the course of 2024 and 25, as Saturn transits Pisces, Sherry is holding space at Embodied Astrology to help us fortify our discipline and devotion so that we can work in ways that are more authentic and aligned with our life purpose. Sherry's offerings work in cycles that include council sessions, where she invites guests to join her, along with release and rest sessions, where her focus turns inward towards the realms of breathwork and personal practice. In Virgo season, Sherry is working specifically with themes of vocation and purpose, and you can tune in with the recording of her council session with vocational astrologer Renee and integrate with her through the healing release session on September 1st. One of the most challenging experiences that many people are contending with right now is information overwhelm and uncertainty about what is real when it comes to media, information, and news. Current astrology reflects this powerfully in the transit of Neptune at the last degrees of the zodiac. In astrological symbolism, Neptune is associated with our imaginations and the power of our minds to produce feeling states that shape our perceptions of reality. Correspondingly, Neptune is also associated with created images, as we might encounter them through realms of visual media, especially photography and video. With digital manipulation and artificial intelligence becoming increasingly commonplace, it's important that we have discernment and awareness as we navigate the realms of shared information. If you're interested in exploring these themes through astrology, check out the Nebula Lab with Gabs 404. September 7th session will focus specifically on AI and its connections to imagery and visual culture. As social media and news increasingly become sites of social division and manipulation, it's essential that we build skills to contend with conflict. Astrology happens to be an amazing tool for navigating difference and conflict in creative ways that support us in seeing where and how we can work across distances towards mutual aims and efforts. As the social landscape becomes increasingly explosive and dynamic over the next months, I hope you'll consider joining us for our November series with Mars retrograde, led by Ramon Parrish, Constellations of Conflict. Ramon will use astrology to help us find healing in the realms of the internal, interpersonal, and institutional. Finally, this is a time where one of the biggest needs that many people are experiencing is trustworthy and supportive community. Since its inception, Embodied Astrology has always been about bringing people together through the language and practice of astrology. and we continue to offer nourishing and soulful communal spaces monthly and weekly. Once a month, you can join us with Janata Petrus for the Full Moon Artistic Alchemy Spaces, where she'll offer prompts and practices for working with the full moon's influences, the seasonal cycle, and your natal chart. These spaces are rich with support for sustaining through the ups and downs of life with creativity and joy. Join Janata on September 15th for the Pisces Full Moon Edition, which is sure to be an extra potent one, as that full moon is also the first lunation of this year's second season of eclipses. For weekly support, you can find me every Monday in Somatic Space, where we work with the astral influences of the week ahead through gentle and adaptive movement practices, guided meditation, breathwork, and visualization. These sessions are meant to set you up to meet the moment and cultivate mind, heart, body practices that help you align with what astrology is asking for now. Finally, for those of you ready to get offline and into dimensional space together, I hope you'll consider joining me October 24th through 27th for an on-land retreat at the Eco Dharma Center in Colorado's Rocky Mountains. Together with Ramon and Michelle Gabrieloff Parrish, we'll be exploring the intersections of astrology, embodiment, and environment. You can learn more about everything I just mentioned through the links in our show notes or at embodiedastrology.com. Last but not least, I hope that you find this work supportive, and if you do, that you will support us in turn. The best ways to do that are to subscribe, follow, like, and leave us comments, which helps our channels grow. Your one-time tips, recurring donations, and monthly memberships are so appreciated, and they sustain the production of this work. Thank you. Now, onto your horoscopes. Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to Virgo season. This reading is for all of your Sagittarius placements, especially your sun, moon, and rising. I'm going to go through this reading in 3 parts. You might think about your head, your heart, and your belly, or what is practical, what is healing, and what connects you with the larger sphere of existence in terms of your greatest service and purpose at this time. So Virgo is definitely an energy of practicality, and the way that it resonates in the Sagittarius charts is important. This is a season that is asking you to really think about who you are here on the planet Earth and what you're doing in a larger sense of the word and why. This is a season where your mind and your efforts are really orienting towards this idea that you're going to leave a legacy of some kind. You are part of lineages, and what these lineages are larger bodies that have their own ideas, they have their own influences, and you are contributing to the growth and the evolution of these bodies. I feel that this is a time for you in which you really want to examine your underlying principles and philosophies. Many of you will benefit at this time from letting go of some ideas about who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, so that you can access what is actually more authentic and heartfelt. I think that there is a need for clarification and refinement, and potentially some revising or revisioning of the ways that you want to put yourself out into the world in order for your impact to be as good as it can be, as effective as it can be, and in order to make sure that the ways that you are laboring and what you're bringing forth in terms of where you might be a possibility model for others or in any kind of spaces of leadership are really in alignment with your heart and with your sense of authenticity and integrity. What is most practical for you at this time is recognizing that no matter who you are or what you're doing, that you will leave some kind of impact, and you are part of something that is bigger than you, but you also have a unique and important contribution. And when you orient towards your contribution with an attitude of service towards a greater well-being, really thinking about where you can be contributing to larger collective efforts, then your work and what it is that you are doing get strengthened. You get a lot of support, and others see you as somebody who is able to walk their talk. They perceive you as a person with authenticity and integrity, and that is going to make them a lot more likely to trust you and to want to work with you or be in relationship with you, and potentially to follow or take example from your leadership. When it comes to your heart and what's healing right now, Sagittarius, there's a lot that's healing for you in being part of the larger whole and taking your place in it. Over the course of Virgo season, I want to invite you to tune in with the lunations, the new moon and the full moon, as important points of clarification and recognition around these themes. We have a new moon in Virgo on September 2nd and a full moon in Pisces on September 17th. This full moon is also the first eclipse of a series of eclipses that will take us through early 2027, occurring in the seasons of Pisces and Virgo. Pisces and Virgo are part of what's called the mutable axis, the signs that are changeable, that are mutating or mutability in their quality. And Sagittarius is a mutable sign as well. So eclipses in this axis are really important for you, and they highlight the relationship between who you are out in the world in your most public version of yourself, the ways that you are adulting and putting yourself into positions of potential leadership, and also having an impact, and also what sustains you through that. Where do you go when you're not in the spotlight? How do you get rest and nourishment? And what and who really allow you to feel that you are part of something that is much bigger than you, and that you don't have to always be in a space of leadership. You don't have to constantly be putting yourself out there, working all the time, etc. What's healing for you right now is to put your focus towards what's nourishing, what helps you come into a feeling of belonging and a sensation that you are held in a larger integration and embeddedness. Any effort that you put towards cultivating a sense of family right now, I think is beneficial for you. But family can mean a lot of things. And one of the things that it means for many of us is not what I'm talking about. And that has to do with the ways that families can impose expectations and traditions upon one another that are actually really damaging to individual spirits and sense of sovereignty, autonomy, and creative well-being. You've probably had your own experience with this in some shape or form. It might not be with your family of origin or biological relatives, but it could be in a larger social group, or maybe the structure of society, or places where you might have encountered people who are in positions of leadership and hold positions of power that want to impose their ideas about right and wrong on you. And in that imposition, they kind of squash the truth of your being, maybe sometimes on varying degrees of violence. And the ways that all of us have experienced not being allowed to be who we are in our families, in society, etc., gets internalized then, and for many of us becomes attitudes and behaviors that we enact with others, where we kind of keep each other in line. There can be an inheritance or passing on of ideas about who you need to be in order to be successful. For example, maybe you need to be someone who doesn't have emotions. Maybe you need to be someone who always knows the answer and never has a question. There might be really strong ideas about who you should be according to your assigned gender, or who you should be according to what age you are. Different families and cultures have their own traditions, and there are so many narratives about the shoulds that we should be. And I don't know who said it first, but I'm going to say it again. Stop shoulding all over yourself. Over the course of Virgo season and over these next 2.5 years of eclipses coming in to the Virgo Pisces axis, Sagittarius, you benefit from deep internal self-acceptance and working with the ways that you have internalized patterning and programming of manipulation and control, working with yourself to soften, relax, and heal the voices in your head that might be telling you that you should be like X, Y, or Z, that you're not good enough because of A, B, C, and D. Nobody will love you because of reasons F, G, and H. You know, like all of the ways that you might be imposing ideas on yourself that are not actually in recognition of who you are and your authenticity are areas that are ripe for examination. And many of them are ready to be released. I want to particularly encourage you to pay attention to the ways that your thoughts feel in your body. And I'm going to say that this is an extremely effective way to practice discernment about whether these thoughts are helpful or not. Because we also do need to give ourselves critical feedback sometimes. As human beings, of course, we can all experience excess and deficiency. There are so many places where we're all working to grow and mature and become the best versions of ourselves. So I'm not trying to tell you that there should be no self-work or that your critical voice is entirely unhelpful. What I'm trying to ask you to pay attention to is, when are these voices helpful and when are they harmful? One way to quickly tune in with help versus harm is how these voices feel in your body. For example, you can do this right now. You might remember a time when you yourself or somebody else in your life gave you a message about how you should be that you know was harmful. I can think of a million examples in my own life. I bet you can too. This is messaging that moves against your own sovereignty, your own bodily intuition. This is messaging that probably makes you feel not good enough and amplifies your insecurity. So if you call to mind one of those messages right now, and then use your hands and kind of explore your body, I would say probably your torso and central body from your head all the way down to your pelvis and your hips. Notice, how does this thought feel in your body and what does it do to you in your inner body? When I think of those kinds of thoughts for myself, I often feel a sense of contraction and collapse. I feel my energy getting both depleted and hyperactivated. So I might be going into a fight, flight, freeze mode. I often feel a kind of disassociation between my mind and body. And very frequently, I also feel like centers of blockage, particularly around my vital organs and the spaces in our bodies that are most particularly connected with our personal power. And these spaces resonate around the jaw and the throat and down in your low belly and pelvis and organs of reproduction. So if any of those examples resonate at all for you, or if you have your own sensations that you notice that your body is doing something with this particular message, pay attention, because that is your body telling you that that thought or that message is false. That is your internal sense of discernment. And when you notice your body giving you that kind of feedback, your job then is to hold your awareness in that space, to breathe into those places in your body, and send counteracting messages with your mind. Use your intelligence to repattern your body, and use your mind to tell your body that those messages were false. They were coming from places of trauma, wounding, and inaccuracy. And then fill in that space of wounding that you are aware of with healthy messages. You might give yourself affirmation that it's okay to be as you are. You might meditate and reflect on how when you, if let's say somebody's telling you that you're not enough this way, you might think about, well, maybe that's not actually what I have to give. Where do I really feel my generosity? Where do I really feel my gifts? And allow yourself to, first of all, not meet everybody else's expectations of who you should be. And secondly, to really affirm where you are healthy, where you have gifts to give, and let the unhelpful patterning that comes through the internalization of these critical messages dissolve and resolve into patterning that helps you concentrate and connect with where you can really feel your health and your generosity, your skills, your gifts, your competencies, etc. When you are aware that maybe you're not really coming to the table with what you could be. And we all do this, right? It's like we're all totally capable of being reactive, immature, childish, lazy. We're all totally capable of being in ways that we probably know we could do better than that. I want to encourage you to work skillfully with your noticing and give yourself helpful reframes so that you don't indulge voices of negation in their criticism, punishment, or comparison with others, basically putting yourself down. Don't indulge the kind of punishing thoughts that have to do with hypothetical futures. Oh, you did that, so you'll never be loved, or something like that. Those kinds of thoughts are in the previous category, ones that we want to work with to heal. But you might allow yourself to feel your own feedback in ways that celebrate your capacity to have the thought, and that concentrate on how you're listening to your inner wisdom and cultivating your maturity and, showing up with accountability or doing whatever it is that you are aware that you could be doing, will actually be of benefit to you in a larger sense and be of benefit to your relationships and the kind of collective or community at large or the environmental whole. So if I were to give myself a personal example, I can struggle sometimes with routine and discipline. I know that when I do certain things, I feel so much better, but sometimes I just don't want to do them, and I'll put them off and I'll procrastinate. And sometimes we'll make choices to do things that actually I know aren't good for me. Now, it's very easy for me to get on my own case and be like, oh my God, Renee, like you have no discipline, blah, blah, blah. Like all those negative voices start to spiral. Instead of doing that, what I want to do is recognize my inner intelligence for knowing what I need, knowing what benefits me, appreciate that inner intelligence and wisdom, and then really meditate and embody the feeling of why this is helpful and why this is good for me and why I want to invest in it. And while I'm doing that, I may also want to appreciate that not everybody can be perfect all the time. And when I make choices that are maybe like less skillful or more indulgent, I can appreciate that the reason I'm making those choices may have their own intelligence as well. Maybe I actually need a break. Maybe I need some protection somewhere. So I want to hold a lot of consciousness and care around the ways that I am or am not showing up in my life and for myself. And Sagittarius, I feel like this practice is really important for you right now because you are trying to clarify and heal your sense of belonging. And I think that a lot of you in your clarification and healing are currently working with spaces of injury that have been inflicted upon you by people or entities that you have perceived as having more power than you. So this could be parents, people in positions of authority, or larger cultural narratives telling you how you should be, etc. And I think that these internalized narratives in the past and presently sometimes keep you from feeling that you are good enough as you are, that you are deserving of love, and that you can relax and actually just be in the family of things, right? You can belong here on planet Earth. You are wanted. There is room for you. There is a need for what you uniquely have to offer. And we also need you to, attend to the work that's yours, to take care of yourself, to listen to your better judgment and show up with your dignity. And so we need you kind of embodying and integrating these archetypal roles and claiming and reclaiming your personal power. So then when it comes to a larger sense of purpose and your greatest offering at this time, that is so much of what the work is right now. And ultimately, the outcome for you, Sagittarius, has to do with the ways that you are able to hold space in relationship, community, and connection with others. The more that you can do this work for yourself, the more that you can hold bountiful, generous space in your relationships. That includes your one-on-one relationships as well as your communal and environmental relationships. And it definitely includes your capacity to be skillful in the ways that you are working and how you're applying your organizational intelligence. I think that a lot of you have a lot of organizational intelligence right now. You know something about building coalitions. You know something about what needs to come together conceptually, ideologically, relationally, and environmentally for where we're headed and the challenges ahead. We need you to really be loving yourself and integrated as you are doing this work of somehow coalescing intelligence and putting it into practical application. Okay, so definitely pay attention to the new moon and the full moon. These themes are potentially going to magnify around that time. I also really want to encourage you to take your time over the course of Virgo season. Some of you have projects that are needing to maybe pause in certain ways. It might feel like there's necessary integration. Growth does not always go out and up. It is really important that whatever is growing is also rooting, anchoring, and fortifying internally. So if some of what you're working on these days feels like it's slowing down, definitely give it the time that it needs. Sagittarius, I hope any or all of that is helpful for you. I'm wishing you all the best in Virgo season and beyond. Bye for now.